happening, but apparently I've entered a twilight zone.
These are all right.
Good evening and welcome to the November 19th Board of Selectmen meeting. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And please join me in a moment of silence for former Zoning Board of Appeals member Lyle Coyle, who passed away on November 12th. Okay, thank you. This meeting is being televised on Women Hanson Cable Access Television. And Mr. Bloss, would you please read the announcements?
Caution, DOXO.com is not affiliated with the town of Hanson for online bill payment. All residents and taxpayers are hereby advised that the bill paying services provided by www.doxo.com are not endorsed by the town, nor can the town accept any responsibility for transactions conducted through www.doxo.com. While this service does list contact information for the town of Hanson, the town has no contract or affiliation with this company. In coordination with the Kraft Family Blood Donor Center, the Hanson Police Department will host a blood drive this Saturday, November 23rd, from 8 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. at 775 Main Street, aboard the Brigham and Women's Hospital Bloodmobile. As a thank you, donors will receive a $5 Dunkin' Donuts gift card. The Hanson Town Hall will be closed on Thursday, November 28th and Friday, November 29th for the Thanksgiving holiday. The transfer station will be open regular hours on Friday the 29th. The Hanson Community Christmas Committee is asking residents seeking assistance this holiday season to please complete the application found in the Town Hall or on the homepage of the town website under the news and mail it no later than November 30th, 2019 to Hanson Community Christmas P.O. Box 243, Hanson, Mass. 02341. Once the committee receives your application, they will send you your family's ID number and pickup information. The Holiday Committee annual tree lighting will be Saturday, December 7th from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Area restaurants will be serving samples of their fare. Santa will light the tree and visit with kids. Fireworks will top off the evening. Volunteers are needed on the following committees: 200th Anniversary, Capital Improvement, Conservation Commission, regular and two associate members, Cultural Council, Disabilities, Economic Development, Energy Committee, Finance, Highway Building Committee, Historical Commission, Memorial Day Patriotic Observance, Memorial Field Trustees, and Zoning Board Alternate. Applications for appointment and info on the committee is available on the town website. Please apply, and let's get this list shortened. I'm tired of reading it every week.
Upcoming. That was not in the printed material.
I'm still tired of reading the same list every week. Upcoming Board of Selectmen meeting Tuesday, December 3rd, Tuesday, December 17th, Tuesday, January 7th, and Tuesday, January 28th, 2019 and 2020.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, we've got a lot of exciting items this evening, and starting off in our new business with the appointment of our Highway Director, Matthew Cahill. Mary, I'm going to kind of kick it over to you.
I put a letter of recommendation in your boxes, and I just saved the reading of it. We posted the position of Highway Surveyor after the untimely passing of Bob Brown. We changed the job description to Highway Director. After posting internally, we received one application from a current employee of the Highway Department. Although his service to the town and experience was extensive, we just wanted to open it up to see if we could get a higher level of qualifications. In that, we ended up with 6 applications for the Highway Director, and Kurt and I narrowed down the field to 5 applicants, and 1 applicant actually withdrew before we did the interviews. We conducted interviews with Selectman Bloss, and all the applicants were very, well qualified, but one just stood above the rest with having being a civil engineer, and he comes to us from Mass Dot. 10 years experience in both the maintenance division and the construction division, and we were very pleased as we were going through his application and his resume. we didn't really see any reference to snow and ice. And he says, oh yeah, I do snow and ice. And then he and Kurt just kind of went off to a whole conversation of stuff that Wes and I were just sitting there saying, okay, they know what they're talking about. So we highly recommend, and I as the town administrator recommend the appointment of Matthew Cahill from Duxbury as the new highway director for the town of Hanson.
Okay,
I move to appoint Matt Cahill to Highway Director.
Second.
okay. Any further discussion? I do want to extend our thanks to Kurt McLean and to Mary for sticking to the process and doing it so quickly. All in favor?
Okay. And I'd just like to give Matt an opportunity to introduce himself to the board.
How are you all? It's a pleasure to meet you. I talked to some of you. I don't think I got a chance to meet you, Laura, yet, but I'm really excited and looking forward to being a part of the town and doing the best I can for the town of Hanson and everything I can.
Well, we're excited to have you before the first snowfall.
And Kurt and I have talked about that, and so I will make sure that I'm readily available and ready to go.
All right, great, thank you.
Thank you very much.
I have to say hello to his wife.
Okay.
We are co-teachers.
Do you have to do it right at this instant? I've already lost it. I was starting late, we're going out in the hall and saying hello to people. I'll defer, it's right out the Bear with us for a minute. Well, Mr. Bloss says hello to his wife.
So I just want to say that the background checks came back good. We just need to do a contract negotiation, and we'll get Matt on board as soon as we can. So, before both Kurt and I leave.
Okay, and under new business, we have a highway update from Interim Highway Surveyor Kurt McLean.
Yes, I'll just give you, my biggest concern, coming in was snow and ice. And glad to say the guys have done a great job. All the sanders are ready to go. If we have an event tomorrow, we're all set, ready to go. Contractors are all set. We've actually run every sander, put plows on and make sure everything's working, and the guys have done a phenomenal job.
Awesome.
I'd like to thank Mary and the department heads. They've been great to work with. They've given me any assistance I've needed, and it's been a pleasure working with them. Just a few things we've got was the snow and ice prep. That's all set. As you know, we've had 2 major windstorms, so the guys were out there pretty much for a couple of weeks dealing with down trees and brush. We did get over to the library and remove 11 trees there, so that was a nice quick job.
Thank you.
I'm waiting, and actually I got a phone call earlier this evening. I'm glad to say we're going to be grading roads hopefully Friday, starting, weather permitting.
Okay.
We can't go out there
Yes.
under the conditions they're in now, but hopefully Friday we'll be starting to grade roads, and there's a few days worth of work there. In the middle of next week, I see we have a few catch basin issues around town, so that should be starting the middle of next week with the contractor coming in and doing those repairs. We're dealing with a few drainage issues in town. I've never had to, in my career, deal with cranberry bog drainage issues, but it's a learning.
No cranberry bogs in Hanover?
Very, very old ones that aren't used. And actually the one I'm dealing with now is an old one, not used, but dealing with some drainage issues with residents, and dealt with a few, got them taken care of. We'll be working on one tomorrow. I met with the conservation agent. We're gonna go out tomorrow and take a look at one, and there's a few things we can do, but I don't, know if that's gonna be the cure-all, but it'll help.
All right, but I appreciate you being responsive. If it's the individual in the place that I'm thinking of, I think they've been waiting a while, so, yeah.
I spent an hour and 20 minutes getting a tour today, and the gentleman was very nice, courteous,
Okay.
glad that I was there. And just the last thing I have, we're working with a lot of sign issues. People would like different signs in that. I'm picking away at them slowly. I don't want to rush out and spend a ton of
And what
money
is
on
the protocol on that? Because we get asked that a lot. I want a stop sign, I want a slow, blah, 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 I want to, and I appreciate that because, the town is more populated than it was when a lot of these signs were put up. And we probably do need to have some traffic studies, take note, Matt, with the police chief and kind of take a look at some different areas. And I know everybody's been pretty responsive, but just for people that maybe I'm like, I think we should have a sign. What is the protocol? What do I do if I'm a citizen and I think I want a sign?
It depends what you want for a sign.
Okay.
Speed limit signs set by a state warrant. And actually, I'm in the process of looking what the town has for speed limit warrants, because you can't just go putting up speed limit signs anywhere you want. Stop signs, that's, depending upon the conditions, you can't use those to control the flow of traffic in like a subdivision. Slow children signs and stuff like that. I've met with residents, we discuss, what they want, where they want it, and I try to work with, whatever they want. In some cases, I wouldn't recommend signs where they want. I've looked at a few that, blind driveway signs. We're gonna put one up, but there's, on one side of the road, there's a 1/4 mile visibility. The other side, there's visibility, but there's a little crown in the road, so we're gonna put up a sign there. And actually, I've been waiting for Mr. Hanlon to get back so I can work with him on doing this. And so signage, the federal government has the MUTCD, which is kind of like your Bible.
Okay.
It can tell you anything from crosswalks to stop signs to school zones. So you pay close attention to that and basically use it like your Bible as far as what you want to put, where you want to put it. And so signage, it depends what people want.
And then I know sometimes we'll work with Chief Mix and he might do a little enforcement if it's like people are speeding instead of putting a sign in, maybe there's like some combination, maybe some, traffic calming measures versus like actual signage,
Right. And that's, I've worked with the chief and the lieutenant, and anytime I do anything with signs, I go to them first.
Yeah.
And, I want us all to be on the same page and put no liability on the town or anything, so.
Okay, thank you, we appreciate
But
it.
other than that, it's been a pleasure here and a great group of guys to work with, and I can't thank the department heads enough for the assistance they've given me.
Well, we can't thank you enough for stepping in at a time of need. We really needed you.
It's been a pleasure. I truly enjoyed it.
Through you, I just have a quick question for you, Kurt.
Sure.
I know you've only been here a couple of months, but what do you feel is going to be the biggest challenge down the road for your department?
I said to Mary, some things that are needed as far as, it's key. I really think they definitely need a brush chipper. We don't have a tree department, no, but we just had 2 storms. There's so much time spent picking up stuff, loading it in a truck, driving it across town. A brush chipper just makes things much easier for the guys and for the town. I mean, we get a brush pile that grows and grows.
Yeah.
You have to dispose of that. Well, you can shrink that down by chip and brushing that. Some equipment that's needed, they're big ticket items, but a backhoe is, I know the water department has a backhoe, but it would be truly nice to have one when you need it at that moment. We had a job planned I was on vacation last week. We had a job planned Friday. There was an incident with the water department and the water break. I think it was Thursday or Friday, but that put our job on hold. And I just explained to the guys, being in a DPW for so many years, wait 5 minutes, the job will change. It's drop what you're doing, we're gonna deal with this. So just a few things, but overall, I think with some new blood in here, changing things up, it's a good thing. I hate to say I'm an old dog, but, my job, a young guy came in, replaced me, and he brings it as different skill set to the table. This is what communities are looking for today, and I think you'll be pleased with what you'll see in the future.
Great, thank you.
Any other?
Good.
Mr. Mitchell?
How about the building? What do you think about the highway department itself? You can answer it.
It's functional. I ran into the same issue in the town I came from. I went into the building there, it was brand new, state of the art, 1977. It's no longer state of the art. Well, we just did similar to what, I guess you own a building or the town is looking at a building.
Yes.
We did the same thing. We had a building next door, we rehabbed it, got a beautiful facility, and I spoke with you earlier, Ken, regarding if you want any input, I would love to give you a hand and make some suggestions.
Right, okay, good.
What you need, you know, for the comfort of the guys, for the equipment and all that. And the building they're in, extremely tight quarters. I mean, it's a shoehorn. I hate to say it, if you ever had a fire, you lose your highway department's equipment is gone. And, you know, other than there's 2 trucks parked outside, which that's not the best thing for your frontline sanders. You know, they're parked outside all winter long. But extremely tight quarters. It beats working in a lean-to. So.
That's a ringing endorsement.
Is it really?
Welcome aboard, Matt.
It's dry. It's dry. I can say that, you know.
Better than nothing.
It's dry.
But, no, extremely tight quarters, and, you know, these guys in the winter, you know, I lived in a highway garage for 40 years, and comfort is key when it comes to a guy taking a break that you've been out there for 20 plus hours or 30 plus hours, to sit down in a place that's warm and comfortable and you can have something to eat. That's key. So, as I say, it's functional, it works, it does what you need, but it's just, if you ever have an issue, you'd lose all your equipment that's in that one building. So.
Okay, thanks.
Thank
Any
you.
other questions? Okay, great. Thanks so much, Kurt. We appreciate it, and welcome aboard, Matt.
Very excited, thank you.
We have got next up a vote for the recommendation of a hire for supportive day coordinator, Carol Jensen. Mrs. Marini.
This was another position that needed to be filled, which we posted internally, didn't get any takers again. So I posted it externally. We got 2 applications. Mary Collins, the Director of Elder Affairs, myself went, sat with both the candidates. Both of them were well qualified. Carol comes to us with experience in dealing with dementia and Alzheimer's patients through Pantry Hospital. And that's what the social daycare program is. And we think she will be a really good fit for the position and help Mary out tremendously. So I recommend the board's appointment of Carol Jensen as the supportive day coordinator.
I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, move to the vote. All in favor? Okay, welcome on board, and
Thank you.
I'm sure you're going to love working with Mary as much as we love her. And
Okay, well, I'm very excited.
and thank you for.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mary, the facilities are better down there than they are.
She said no.
I knew the answer before.
I feel like you guys are leading witnesses here. Okay. We've got all kinds of stuff, but we do have a hearing at 7:30, so we've got to move it along here. Police chief request for appointment of full-time student officer Mario Thompson. Carol, thank you and good luck. And part-time police officer Brian Roday, and I probably just spelled his last name.
Don't worry, I'm going to mess up his last name too, because I call him Rod But thank you. Just real quick, I'm going to give a brief overview of the two officers. First of all, Mario Thompson. Mario grew up in town. Great kid. He's a part-timer for us. He's already completed his FTO program, the same program that we put the full-time officers through. So he's actually working in the cruiser once in a while on his own. Did a great job doing it. He works full-time for the harbor master in Duxbury, and he wants to come on and join us. As you know, going back to town meeting, we shuffled around some money, and the town gave me some more funds to hire 2 officers in January to help offset our move to Duxbury, the communications center to Duxbury in July. Mario would be one of those 2. Like I said, he's done a great job. The guys love him. He fits in well. He's a hard worker. He's got a bachelor's degree from Bridgewater State in criminal justice. He used to coach. I don't know if he's still coaching right now, but he was coaching youth football and basketball with the Special Olympics. And I just think he's an absolute perfect fit. And also, we did some stuff a little bit backwards. Normally, I'd get you guys to make the appointment, but I was under some time constraints. We actually have an academy slot for him July 6th. I'm sorry, January 6th. Thank you. I know. What am I going to do? I keep telling you, I'm going to be an orphan when you leave. You correct all my reports. It's great. So January 6th, he will start the academy. I have the slot. He's all set to go, and he'll be entering with David Munn, who, you know, David's been put off twice now for the academy slot. So that's great that I can have 2 of them going together. That other position for the January is still open, the full-time position. We requested some laterals. We're looking at the resumes. There's some slim pickings out there, but we have a couple of really good candidates, so I'll probably be back in front of you in a few weeks. So Brian Rade is the second one that I wanted to discuss. Brian was a full-time dispatcher in Situate. Heard that we had an opening coming up, which ironically enough was basically David Munn's, and came and said he'd love to work for us. We explained to him that that's great, but July 1 things are going to disappear, and he said he had also applied to be a part-time police officer for us. So I basically told him, well, if you're willing to come here and risk a full-time job and come hang with us for 7 months or so and fill in a need we have, I can't think of a better dress rehearsal for a potential full-time slot next July. So we talked about putting him on as a part-timer. If you guys appoint him, we'll start working on the field training and work on trying to get him into an academy in July when we have additional funding for the officers. Brian came to us well, he grew up in Hanover. He also has a bachelor's degree from Bridgewater State in criminal justice. He also worked prior to leaning towards law enforcement as a special education teacher in the Hanover schools, and as well as with some homeschooling organizations for autistic children. So he's deals with people well. He's a great guy. He comes from a law enforcement family. His father was a Boston officer, and again, I think he'll be a good fit, and I think it says a lot for a guy with a young family to be willing to come here and help us in a need and risking a full-time job with another department. I think that says a lot about his character and his willingness and eagerness to be with us. So
I love his special needs background because, as you know, that's becoming something that, you know, is really important.
Yes.
You know, in law enforcement, to have that sensitivity and awareness. So I think that's awesome to have.
Ironically enough, we've done a ton of training with that over the past couple of years.
Yeah, great.
So,
any questions, guys? Are you looking for us to make a motion tonight?
Yes.
Yes, there's a motion in the packet.
Okay, who wanted to make that motion?
if you take Mr. Thompson first, the specific wording that I would need for that, he'd be appointed as a student police officer.
Mr. Dyer.
All right. I make a motion that Mario Thompson be appointed as a student police officer in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 41, Section 96B. And I also make a motion, can I do double motions? I don't think I can.
Do them separate.
Let's just do them separate just to avoid any.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Okay,
All right.
Congratulations to Mario.
I also make a motion that Brian Rade be appointed as a part-time police officer.
Second.
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor? And congratulations to Brian Rade.
Chief, one quick question. How long does it take to get to the academy?
So they just redid the curriculum in the past year. It's down to about 700 hours now. So you're looking at like 5 months. So it's about 100 hours shorter than it was, 180 hours, I think, shorter. But that's being tweaked a little bit, with any new curriculum, to seeing what's working and what isn't, and tweaking it. So hopefully both David and Mario will be out before July 1. They should be getting out in June. And we'll be able to get them started on the street July 1. And anticipating the rotation of the academies, I'm hoping that there'll be an academy we can get new people into in either July or August, between Plymouth and the Cape has their own academy now.
Cool, thanks.
Oh, one quick thing, just I meant to apologize at the beginning. I've been getting a lot of comments on my lack of shaving. I know it's not on the agenda, but just so people understand.
Right?
It's Movember, yes, and some people don't. So you see some of the offices are a little fuzzier than usual. They're raising money. They could pick a charity, but most of them picked Cops for Kids with Cancer. So
I like it. I think you look great.
You do? Off air, we'll talk about some of the comments I've been getting. They haven't been great, Jim, but thank you.
Just shut the comment section off.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, thank you, Chief. Okay, and we're let's see, what can I do?
We could do the quick,
2 minutes.
the donations.
Yes, that sounds great. So everybody's got the donations in their packet. We've got...
So we have the list of donations from the 200th anniversary, which you can vote to accept, and the list will be provided since it's lengthy. And these are sales of the various swag that the 200th anniversary committee is selling, and that was
Which shameless
October 7th.
self-promotions, they make great Christmas gifts.
The
And you
stuff
can find
is
them if you
really
look on-
good.
If you look on,
They have lovely Christmas ornaments.
yes.
And the water bottles are nice, and the t-shirts and the sweatshirts are quite good.
Okay, so I will entertain a motion to accept the donations listed in the spreadsheet as October 19 with various names and numbers and all related to the 200th anniversary.
So moved.
Okay?
Second.
All in favor? I will also entertain a motion on the Hanson Camp 20, they have a donation?
Yes, they do.
List of donations from Bill Boyle in the email dated Friday, November 15th.
That would be the Hanson Rod and Gun Club, a membership for a $300 value. These were for prizes for the cornhole tournament. The Rotary Club of Hanover, Norwell, and Pembroke, 4 gift cards totaling $150, and a gift card of $25 from Meadowbrook Restaurant.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, great. And that brings us right up to 7:30, which is marvelous because we have got a hearing regarding the alteration of the premises known as Hanson Market and Liquors at 12 Mont Ponce Street here in Hanson. Hi, sir.
And we should...
I'd like to make a motion to open up the hearing.
Yep. Roll call.
We have a second?
Okay, roll.
Aye.
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 Okay, the hearing is officially open.
You just read the notice that's...
I was looking for the notice that
You'll hand it down. It's on the newspaper.
Okay, thank you. The Board of Selectmen will hold a hearing on Tuesday, November 19th at 7:30 in the Selectmen's Meeting Room at Hanson Town Hall on the application of Nilesh Patel, and I'm sorry if I did not pronounce that correctly, sir, of Hanson, Mass. For an alteration of premise of Caval Hanson LLC, DBA, Hanson Market and Liquors. Premises to be altered is located at 12 Mont Ponce Street, Hanson, Mass. and described as follows: approximately 2,400 square feet of retail space. It says alteration, but I think it means alteration. To the premises includes additional 1,225 square feet, resulting in a total of 3,600 square feet of retail space, one main entrance /exit, and emergency exit in the rear.
Good evening. My name is Attorney John Moradian. I'm the licensing attorney for Cable Hanson LLC, Hanson Market and Liquor. Today we're asking for a board approval for an alteration of the premises. What they're essentially doing is they're going to remove a wall that separates the current store from a vacant storefront just to the left if you're facing the building.
Right, it used to be the dry cleaning.
As a dry cleaner. And in there, as the floor plan shows, they're going to add more shelving, another cooler, primarily up grocery items in there to expand the concept of the store from just liquor to grocery items too.
So we're not looking to make this, purely liquor store. It will remain a
Market slash liquor,
combination.
yeah.
Okay. Okay, and it looked to me like work already started there.
Yeah, so I spoke to my client about that. I spoke to Miss Marini last week. I guess they have started pulling the items out of the vacant spot. I've told them to stop until both you approve the alterations as well as the Alcohol Beverage Control Commission. I believe the wall still is up between the two spots, but I told them to cease, building and doing work until we get approval.
We're obviously we want business here in Hanson, but we also want people to follow the rules.
Right.
So we just want to make sure that we're not putting the cart before the horse on that. Okay, any questions, guys? Any thoughts? No? Okay, I will entertain them.
Oh, I'm
Mr.
sorry. I
Hickey,
thought I
please.
read, when I reviewed this, that there was going to be another entrance and another emergency
Yes.
exit.
Yeah, I just read that in the
Okay.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure that even
Yeah,
though the wall's
they have to comply with
building.
building codes. They're getting building permits too, and obviously this is all subject to final inspections by the building department.
Okay.
I think it's exciting to see somebody, expanding. We're happy to have you here. We're thrilled that you decided to locate in Hanson, so thank you.
A quick question. On the front, I noticed over the past couple of weeks, there's plywood covering the glass. Did something happen to that, or?
I'm not sure. I don't know who.
Oh, okay.
Okay, did it break, or you just gonna do something in the new plan? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
All right. Okay, any other questions? Okay, I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, and roll call?
Aye.
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 Okay. Okay, so it's approved. Thank you. Good to have you back, and we'd love to see you come back and expand even more, except we don't want to see Sandy's spot, because you did promise us Sandy's was going to stay.
Motion to close.
Motion to close the hearing?
Second.
Okay.
Aye.
Roll call?
Aye.
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 Okay, great. Thank you, guys.
I have the butter list.
You okay there?
Yeah, did I break anything?
Okay. I hope not, because some of this arrangement is new. We haven't even
We won't
used
be
it
able to
for
hear
one
Wes
meeting.
Great, thank you very much.
As long as it's not my mic.
Okay, moving on to item number 7, review of the Selectmen's Capital Improvement Plan. Mary, could you lay the foundation for us on
I
this?
can. So before you, I've put together the capital improvement plan. Starting, number one item would be the highway building project for $5 million. And this is just what I put together. It's just ours. We can change it any way we want. If there's something that I missed, please let me know. We can add it. This has not been submitted to capital improvement yet. This is just the board's plan, not the townwide plan. Number 2 is the McQuon School demo. Number 3, meeting with Ryan asked about what we're going to need for IT. We've put in an application, a grant application, and this will cover new servers and switchers, so it's an upgrade, and we would get that money through the grant if we get it. If we don't get it, we may need some of it, but he says we're in dire need of new equipment once we get this fiber network up and running. That will really help us actually save money for some licensings and things like that, because we could have everything sitting on the servers. The next one is the Plymouth County Hospital property, and Matt, I'm going to need some assistance on this. I made this up. I just want you to know. I talked to Dawn Ellis the other day. I said, I don't know what the park plan's going to cost. Again, that will be funded through grant or through CPC, but I don't know what the number is. So I put in the 150,000 for 2021 and added 75 for each of the following years as this comes in phases. So if we could get a better idea of what that might be, that would be helpful. I've spoken to Brian, and he was going to get me some numbers for the roof. There will be a 20-year roof on the addition in the main building. And the flat roof on the very top, Brian was a little concerned about. So just for the following year, for 2022, I put $100,000 in, and same with the furnaces. Just going forward, I'm not exactly sure what we're going to need, but I just wanted it on everybody's radar that this could be coming up. Again, the furnaces could be done through the Green Communities Act, so we wouldn't have to come up with the money for it, but at least it needs to be on the plan in any event. And then sidewalks, again, not this coming year, but down the road as we see some revitalization going on Main Street. I know that that's one of the things that Deb Petty has on her plan.
Where did we come up with I mean, 150 is, while it's something, it's rather pitiful in the context of what you need to spend for sidewalks. So I'm just wondering where we came up with that dollar amount.
That's a number that we've had on the plan historically. I have no idea what the amounts are, because if we do this in phases and in sections, it may be, but I know the 150,000 is woefully low. Can
you circle back with Deb and just get a sense of, like, what I'd like to know is where are we proposing, let's put a little meat on the bone, where are we proposing to put the first, what's our priority in terms of sidewalk? I think I know what she's going to say, which is probably like, but anyway, I don't want to presuppose. And then, what would be the second chunk? And let's just start getting a vision around the sidewalks. It is something that I hear quite frequently from people, is why can't we get High Street and extend, up to Shaw's more of the sidewalk, and I do hear that quite frequently. I don't think people necessarily remember historically that when this has been presented at town meeting, it got shot down because of the price tag.
So at the time we were looking for federal funds, and again, this has been on the capital plan for years. I hate to say this, but I think this is probably since maybe 2000. So it's been 20 years since it's been on, and we were hoping to get some federal funds, and we get some information from the congressional delegation saying, what would you like to put on your wish list, and we put it out there. So the 150 was just tossed out. I changed the verbiage. There are two other forms that go with this, but I just figured we'd deal with the priority list, and I changed it up a little bit. I think that Deb's focus is the down towards the MBTA station. So originally the request for the sidewalks was from Indian Head Street to High Street along 27th.
Yes.
And when we actually have plans for that were drawn up way back when. But now the focus, since we're looking for the revitalization going on by the Cranberry Building into the MBTA station, I changed the verbiage in the format and said that we're looking really for the sidewalk from High Street to the MBTA station, and whether it's going to be in front of the Cranberry Building or we already have existing sidewalks on the north side.
Right.
So just to get something out there and put it in place. Again, as part of a Mass Works grant, we may be able to get some funding, so we may not have to, maybe the 150 would be enough, would be our contribution to that.
So is our town planner, Deb Petty, aggressively looking at whether we can get some grant money for this?
Well, that's part of my report.
Okay.
I'm actually going to be meeting with Deb, the owner of the Cranberry Building, and representatives from Mass Works on Thursday to do a tour and get an idea of what it is going on in the area. So we'll have a better grasp on that. But since we're talking about the sidewalks, I will talk to Kurt about this, and I'll talk to Matt about this, because Matt is in construction. He can give us an idea of what type of numbers we're talking about for that particular stretch. And then down the road in the other direction going towards Route 58.
Right.
So.
Okay, so how do we leave this line item? Can you get back?
I will get better numbers and plug those in. The capital improvement reports or plan requests are due on Friday, but we can I can at least get the accuracy of some numbers, plug those in, and they can be adjusted before they get to town meeting anyway by dealing with the CPC.
Mr. Chair, could we also, in addition to sidewalk, could we put / multi-use trail? Just that way, it might be able to open us up to further grants that are just not dedicated just to sidewalks, but bike trails, and et cetera. So I'm
Do you
just...
want a separate line item, or you
No,
want it
just
combined?
just combine it. You know what I mean? Just do sidewalks and multi-use trails. That way, it might be able to open us up to matching grants for bike trails that
I
could
don't
also
have a problem
serve
with
as
that. Do you
a...
guys have a problem?
No, but I think Norwell may have had a problem with this because multi-use trails, I think you can use CPC funds for, but I don't think you can use them for sidewalks.
That's true.
Am I
No, yes, that's true,
remembering
and
correctly?
also parking lots, they had a problem, there was a lawsuit.
Yes.
Because they did some open space, and then they used the money for a parking lot, and a group of citizens sued over the parking lot piece, saying that wasn't truly under the community preservation usage. But you're not necessarily saying CPC, Matt, right?
No,
You're
no.
saying like any grant, really.
Any grant, yeah.
Okay, but I'm wondering, so I think it would be okay to put it in the capital improvement together.
Right, so
It's just that we'd have to have CPC really manage what's eligible, what
component of the
isn't, to
funds.
the extent somebody applies.
Okay, so just add sidewalks / multi-use
Yeah.
trails?
Yeah.
Is that what you want? Okay.
Yep, thank you.
Okay. And then the final one is off in 2024. I was speaking to Todd, our financial software program. They're going to be integrating down the road, so it's a $250,000 price tag. But we just wanted to get it out there. We may come across something else, something different down the road, but the current system we're using right now, they've sold out and they have a different name. They call it Acela now. So they may phase out what we're currently using and move into a different type of format, but that's down the road. He told me not to
And
do
again,
anything
Mary,
about that.
just to level set, the capital improvement, this is what we're saying we possibly could be asking for. We're not committing that we're going to actually
No.
tear down McQuon or build the highway building or give 150. We're just saying, if we look out for the next 6 years, here's where we possibly could be spending money.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. This isn't, we don't have this money, but we have the authority to borrow money for these things, but this is just puts everybody on notice. These are the things we're going to be needing in the future, and some other things, may pop up down the line. As we get the new town administrator come in, he may come in and say, well, you guys really need this, that, or the other thing, but I've checked around, and this is what I came up for our plan. And the police department's actually, he told me he doesn't have anything, but the fire chief has presented his plan, and again, they have until the end of the week to get their plans into capital improvement. Then we'll sit down at a department head meeting and talk about, this is what's going on, and who has
Yes,
what,
it'd
and
be
do a little
nice if
comparison.
everybody knew who's who in the zoo,
Right.
what everybody's asking for. And I'm hoping that because they're asking for all of this information now, that we will actually get a distilled version of this, and with plenty of time in advance of our town meeting.
Yes.
Okay, that is our goal. Okay. Yes, Mr. Dow.
So with the highway building on here, is highway going to be submitting their own capital improvement?
For some reason, we ended up with this on our plan. I don't know exactly why, but we got it.
Okay.
So we've been doing it. So Highway will have their own plan, and I think, I told Kurt to tell them, if you need a wood chipper, put it on a plan. If you need the backhoe, put it on a plan, and whatever else equipment they need, whether it's some type of plow or something like that, you put it on the plan. So they'll have their own plan, but this came under our jurisdiction for some reason, and I don't recall why.
I think it's just because it was an initiative by the selectmen, right, Ken?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think it just...
We just owned it.
Yeah, and I was appreciative of Kurt mentioning that equipment, but it does seem to me in the same sentence he mentioned we were bursting at the seams and could not necessarily fit anything else in that building.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what to do with that information, but we'll at least get it out there that it's a possibility. Okay, so are you okay with us taking a vote, a provisional vote, just, and you can get back to us on the numbers, or for the sidewalks, or how do you want to do that?
Yeah, if you can vote to authorize me to submit this, and then if we need to adjust the numbers by the time the, capital improvement actually get to it, we can do that.
Okay.
But is there anything else? Am I missing anything? Is there something that somebody wanted?
Well,
it's not about want, actually.
All right, at the risk of
needs.
being boring, I'm telling you, those tiles on the entrance coming in to the lower level are putting me over the edge. And I
So,
just,
I'm going to put floor, the
Okay.
entry floor, because I don't think we just changed those tiles. I think the whole floor needs to be done.
So I don't know what that costs.
Okay.
But it just looks like heck.
Okay.
And if I'm a taxpayer coming in and that's my first view that I get of things, and it's like rusty, kind of peeling situation, it just does not speak well. And
Okay.
So that's just my personal view.
I'll get a price for that. If it's under $35,000, we'll take care of that, but it won't be on the capital
All
improvement.
right, yes, Mr. Dyer.
Just to kind of go off of that, capital improvements, anything over 35,000, correct?
Right.
So I don't think our floor is going to cost us 35. Well, for the bottom floor, I don't know. Well, just in case, what I'm
It
saying.
is a lovely mauve tone tiling throughout the entire down.
I know, see, the problem is, it's
Yeah.
just like being a homeowner. Oh, we're gonna rip up the entrances. Oh, well,
Yeah.
now there's gonna be a lip, so there's gonna be a trip hazard, so we ought to do the rest. And then now it doesn't match the stairs, and
That's why I
so now you
mentioned
need
it
new
as
curtains
that,
and,
yeah.
the whole
Yeah.
bit, so it may just...
I vote no.
Sounds like my wife.
What I was going off of that is, I know last spring we were talking about how the town hall needs a lot of facelift.
Yes.
And I think maybe can we bundle a couple of these
Okay, I like
projects all into one?
Town hall improvements.
Town hall improvements, whether it's painting the backside, whatever it is.
Town Hall love project, because we need to show this Town Hall love. Yeah, we've got, we've given you a list. I know you've given it to Brian. Matt's given you stuff. I think the other guys have. Things like the back of Town Hall that isn't looking that great. The benches, covering up that generator, which puts me over the edge every time I go by.
That's on the list too.
Okay.
My report. We've gotten actually authorization from Columbia Gas to work on that project because of the whole stuff going up in Merrimack Valley. And I was really hopeful I could say, we got this done. The Columbia Gas guy was here the other day to do the project, and he said, so I'm replacing a meter. And I'm like, no, you're putting in a service. And he says, really? So we went up to Bob's office, I gave him
That's
paperwork, and he says, I'm sorry, I'm just the meter guy. And I said, no, we need a service. So he says, he'll have to send somebody else out, but we're getting so much closer, but we can't put the fence up until we get it connected.
Okay.
But we do have prices for the fence, so
But so to Matt's point, I know Matt and I have given stuff, I'm sure you guys have got little pet peeves, things that maybe drive you bananas, maybe not, because you're not like OCD like I am, but I don't know, do you want to just ask people to forward things to you?
Yeah, if there's something, but some of these things, really, they're improvements. I'm not sure where they're going to get to the $35,000 mark.
But to Matt's point, if they bundle, I think they could.
Okay.
Like the fact that the front, the door on Town Hall does not match the trim, that type of stuff, yeah.
I'm sorry, I thought you were referring to these doors, which do now match the trim.
Yes, the front door does not.
Okay.
Yes.
We can take care of that. That should take, half a day.
Okay.
Okay, and we already have the paint.
Thank you,
So
that was very
we're good to go.
therapeutic for me. Okay, so moving on with I'll entertain a motion. A provisional motion for Mary to get the sidewalk / multi-trail use number. Thank you, Kenny. And
Second.
anybody second? Great. All in favor? Great. Thanks, Mary. Because I've got some people in the audience, we'll kind of rearrange things specifically. We will take the polar plunge item out of order. We've got a request here to do it one more time again with feeling. The polar plunge to support Hanson PTO on Sunday, January 26th with a $60 fee for caretaker staff. Melissa, did you want to do your pitch to us? And Melissa, while you're doing that, I'd like you to point out who here has signed up for the polar plunge.
I would be happy to do
Okay, thank you.
She was the reason why I was late. The first copy.
I brought plenty for everyone.
Who's signing up?
I believe Matt and I have already signed up. Did you, I think, and Mr. Bloss, you're perilously close, I know you are. Did you sign up already? Yeah.
Okay, so it's just me. I'm gonna sign up.
So do you want me to just stand here and sort of do what I did last year and talk to it? Okay. So we will be presenting our 2020 Cranberry Cove Polar Plunge, Freezing for a Reason, on Sunday, January 26, 2020, with a snow/rain date of Sunday, February 2nd, 2020. It will begin at 10 a.m. at Cranberry Cove. Participants must register prior to the event at eventbrite.com. It's $30 for each registration, and then each participant is asked to raise a minimum of $35 and will receive their own fundraising page set up by organizers to make it easy for online donations. I know there were some questions last year about cash or check donations, and we do accept those. Checks just need to be made out directly to Hanson PTO.
And talk to us about the first 75 people getting a quote-unquote fashionable hat.
So I will call it a commemorative winter hat instead of a fashionable winter hat. So last year, there's been some question around the term fashionable. So last year we obviously did towels for everybody who came out of the water. This year we've decided to just go with a standard winter hat with a pom-pom, and we actually have the logo embroidered on the front of the hat. So it'll be very nice and a nice walking advertisement for future plunges as well. So no pressure, no pressure. But so just to update people, we are up to 19 registered participants as of me walking out the door this evening to come here. You know, I've worked with highway, police, fire, rec, superintendent's office, our administrative staff at Indian Head. I've talked to school committee. I've been in touch with all of you fine folks. So again, it's going to be a really great community event. Anybody is welcome to come and participate. Not participate, to spectate. If you'd like to participate, we ask that you be 18 years or older, and we do have a waiver for participants to sign at the event, just given the nature of the event.
A little anxious last year. You have to sign our life. But now, I know you've only got 19 people now, but typically people maybe procrastinate a little.
Yeah, we had
the holiday palms.
We had most of our people register after the new year, truthfully. We had quite a few people register the night before. I will say that that made life a little hectic for me, getting up that early Sunday morning and having to add people to the roster and making sure that everybody was accounted for, and liability and safety and all of that was also accounted for. So registration does end at 12 a.m. on the 25th of January, but we are also extending our pledge pages for all of our participants to February 2nd, so that everybody can get all of their pledges in, and so on and so forth. So I think we're off to a great start, and I will say
we will not be lowered into a hole.
You will not be jumping off of the ice. So the way it worked out last year for people who weren't able to attend or didn't participate, I think more than half of the people in here actually participated last year. So our highway department and fire department worked together, and along with the Conservation Commission, they cut out a chunk of ice, about a rectangular shape, and people walked into the water. Some people dove into the water, some people danced into the water, and then everybody came out, and we had towels waiting. This year it'll be a little different, where we're not giving away towels. We'll ask you to find a volunteer who will hold your towel, and then find them as soon as you come out of the water, and we'll wrap you up and put a hat on you and get you all warmed up. We also have foil blankets afterwards if people are still feeling some coldness. And then we're working on a couple other things that we will let plungers know about as we get closer to the event. So,
is it true that you're going to have a mascot of the Freezing for the Reason. I've heard rumors that you're being a mascot.
That is a great rumor, but unfortunately it is only a rumor. We do not have a cranberry costume, but that is food for thought. So I will mention that to my committee.
Mr. Hayes, will you be freezing for a reason?
Yeah, I'm going.
Okay, all right.
I'd like to request that we don't allow Mr. Mitchell to go in the week before because it was suspected last year whether he ever entered the water or not.
Well,
Thank you for bringing that up.
Mr. Higgs.
Mr. Mitchell, I'll let you address
But it
that,
was
sir.
suspect.
Yeah.
Mr. Hayes, I understand, and I can appreciate that. So if I'm gonna do the polar plunge, it'll be in Texas, because I'll be in Texas again this week.
You gotta change, go to the rain.
Rain date it is, February 2nd, so just for Kenny.
Do it, we go to the rain date.
You go to the rain date, I have zero excuses.
Mr. Mitchell missed twice polar plunge.
Well, you know what we could do is we could have the polar plunge, and then a bunch of us could congregate there on February 2nd for the singular polar plunge.
Mitchell Polo.
The Mitchell polar plunge.
Can I just say that I was there with Mr. Mitchell the day before? 2 days before?
A couple days before.
And it is on film, and he did fall in the water and roll around and came out alive. And
Actually,
In a small section, too.
Yes. It was,
his day, there was no sun his day at least.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Blatch.
There was no doubt, Mr. Bloss, that we didn't doubt that Mr. Mitchell did. It's just we wanted the entertainment value.
That seems hurtful, Mr. Hayes.
any other questions from the
No,
board?
but thank you for doing it. It's a fun event. It's a really great community
Yeah,
event. And it's good, I think, for the kids and the teachers and the schools to feel the support from everybody in the town. So it's fun.
Yeah.
Tell everybody how much you raised last year, too.
We were able to raise $12,000 last year, so it was great. And I have to say, we had some great participants. We had people who were really there. We had costumes and we had people with swimmies on. And it was, the spectators were all ages, which was really our goal. We really wanted to bring the community together. So even though it's on behalf of some of our youngest students in town, it really is a way to draw people in and come together and support one another. So.
And you had WATD there and the cable, and
yes.
Kevin Todd just won an award.
Yes, he did.
For the sound that he did
Yep.
for the polar plunge.
Yep.
So I don't know what those were, but...
Nope, I gave him a shout out for that, and he said, thank you, Polar Plunge, and so it benefits everybody. So.
All right, well, thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
So with that, I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor of approving the cold waiver? Okay, great. All right, back to our agenda. We will be voting on waiving the lodge fee for the Hanson Fire Department breakfast with Santa on Saturday, December 7th, with 120 fee for caretaker staff. And I think I'm just going to read these other two. And then waive the lodge fee for Hanson Community Christmas, December 18th and 19th. I think they're doing some movies. And then waive the lodge fee, Hanson Green, this is the movie night. Hanson Green Movie Night, February 29th, with the $60 fee for caretaker staff. The community Christmas is when she puts all of the gifts together and everybody drops them off. So entertain a motion.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Mr. Chairman, one thing that I just want to point out, and I'm not downplaying community Christmas or anything like that. If you notice, some groups are paying a fee, some groups are not paying a fee. Just to kind of clarify a little bit about that, we have some really great folks up at Camp Kiwani who are going to be donating their time so they don't have to pay the caretaker's fee.
Okay.
And then the other part is the lodge will already be open for yoga, so they don't have to pay the fee.
So what you're saying is we do have a standard that's being applied to everybody, but in this case, we've got people stepping up because of the occasion and donating their time as caretakers.
Correct, but I'm also going to emphasize that we, as the camp is working on policies and procedures, they really need to start nailing down when this applies, when it does not apply, because I asked at the meeting, I said, what's the difference between, polar plunge, Christmas, breakfast with Santa, Green Hanson, they're all doing great things for the community, but why are they paying versus not? So they explained to me that there's going to be a caretaker donating their time, and then the lodge is already open.
All right, well, thank you for that explanation. That's helpful. Where were we in the motion? Did we?
I think we're in the middle of voting.
We were about to vote.
Okay,
and then-
all right. All in favor? Thanks, Matt. Okay, we are moving right along here, and item 13, we have got the resignation of the lovely and talented Iris Morway from the Education Committee, and I will entertain a motion with regret.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, and that brings us to the discussion regarding the school assessment and possible school agreement committee. I attended the school committee meeting last week, and I'm not sure if anybody else did. But anyway, oh, you were there, Matt? No,
I was not.
Sorry, you weren't
I was out of
there.
town.
Let me back it up. So last Tuesday night, Matt and I met with two selectmen from Whitman, Randy Lamattina and Justin Evans, along with Frank Lyman and Mrs. Marini. And the purpose for us meeting was to just lay it on the line that regardless, in a way, regardless of what the school committee votes, whether they vote to stick with the regional agreement, in which case Whitman will likely not support, I don't have a crystal ball, but let's just, say that Whitman probably isn't going to vote if they know that there's a different way and that they can impose that different way on the process. So if the school committee decides to vote to use the regional agreement, which is the per pupil methodology, which is the agreement that's in place and has not been renegotiated to change, that said, if we use that method, we could end up with them saying no, we say yes, then we go back again, and then at that point, they say statutory. We're going to say no, Whitman's going to say yes, then we're looking at super town meeting. Now, there was, and Mary, did you print that out for me?
I'm thinking, I don't have it in my packet, and I did not put it in.
It's okay.
I can run up and get it.
No, it's okay. I can just, I'm sorry to bore everybody and read it off of my email, but that's what I've got to do if we don't have it here. I had, from the jump here, when we started having this conversation, I had been having conversations with Jay and Kate and saying, there has to be a path forward where we've got an agreement in place, and I think the right thing to do, and we can't do anything about this now because it's already been actions taken that don't lead us down this path, but the way that I would have liked to have seen this handled would have been to have folks from Whitman come to us and say, we believe that we can't sustain the regional agreement the way that it is now. We have financial constraints, and we want to open up negotiations and talk about a different way of apportioning those costs. Now, I'm not saying that we would have agreed to do it, but we could have at least had a dialogue about it. Now there's been a lot of dialogue, social media and at meetings and all kinds of, people just, throwing all kinds of hand grenades. And I'm trying to kind of say, okay, let's just look at the facts. We're going to end up with super town meeting. Okay, any way you look at it, regardless of what Bob Hayes and the school committee do. If they vote statutory initially, then, and then they go with the regional agreement methodology second. Either way you look at it, each town's going to say no to one of those meetings. We're going to end up with the regional. We're going to end up with the super town meeting. So I asked Jay to reach out to Desi and have a conversation with Christine Lynch. Now, this was before Christine came to the meeting that we all attended and gave, I thought, quite an excellent description, and she essentially said what I just said, and suggested that she's seen this happen in other communities and that she strongly advised that we try to work together because, frankly, it's got all kinds of unintended consequences and collateral damage if we don't. We are a district, the kids are in the district together, we've been in this for a while, we've still got an agreement, and you know, could we lawyer up, could we threaten to sue, could we do, yeah, we could do all of those things, but at the end of the day, it's a lot of wasted emotional energy, and I'm not sure it's really going to get us any further along in holding our position, which is, look, you owe it to us to have a conversation with us about this and not just impose statutory. So in the spirit of that, Randy reached out and said, I know that you had said you guys were interested in talking, would you guys be willing to come and talk? So we spoke to them on Tuesday night. We didn't talk about any methodology, any process, anything. All we said was, what do we need to do to be able to even have a conversation about this? And as you guys know, we've already asked the school district for the numbers, right? To me, negotiation 101, I can't go in and negotiate any new agreement or any agreement or even figure out if the agreement we've got right now is to our advantage or not, unless I've got transparency and I have got numbers. And so in my mind, the school district is extremely clear on what they think we should be paying, what they've asked us for, and all of that. But what is less clear, and we have yet to get as of today, is the numbers. How much does it cost the district to educate children in Hanson? Just the Hanson children. And I think that that's an appropriate thing for us to ask. And I'm not suggesting deregionalization, although it is something that I think that we ought to get some kind of a number around, just so we can, my sense is that's not going to be viable as a solution. It's going to be too costly, and it's not going to address the short-term situation, which is we're looking at a May town meeting where there's going to be a problem. So that's not all going to get pulled off by May, deregionalization, any of that. I think where we're at is we need the numbers. How much are you bringing in? How much is the school district getting from Hanson and Chapter 70 and state and all that, but attributable to Hanson, and how much is it costing to educate Hanson's children? And conversely, what are they getting from Whitman, and what is it costing to educate Whitman's children? That seems like a very fundamental place that we need to be, and an understanding that we have to have in order to sit down. Otherwise, I don't know. It could turn out that the per pupil really isn't actually, the methodology isn't all that favorable to us if it turns out that the Whitman costs are much higher and Whitman paying the same cost. And one of the, and I'm not trying to be incendiary at all, because I do appreciate the spirit in which Randy and Justin reached out and the collegiality that was shown in reaching across the aisle and having a conversation. So I don't want to diminish the importance of that, because I appreciate it tremendously. But we do need to have those numbers. So I hope you're going to continue to prevail and ask for the numbers, and I know you have and will. And so at the last school committee meeting, we heard from the school committee that they really felt that the towns needed to work out what the agreement was, which in essence is true. We really do. We need to figure out, well, are we going to be able to figure out a path forward, or are we each going to dig in to our respective positions and knowing what the end result is going to be, which is ultimately the state will probably take over, and that could have, again, even more unintended consequences. And so what I want to try to do is keep working on getting those numbers and work on getting a subcommittee together. And I think what the school committee had suggested, and we're certainly not under any obligation to do what they had suggested, we can certainly come up with our own methodology for addressing this, was one member of Whitman and one member of Hanson, which would be the chair and the vice chair of the school committee on the committee, and then 2 selectmen from each of the towns, so that we're not violating any, we're not having a majority in violating open meeting law. That will will allow that committee to be agile, and as much as they're going to be transparent and obviously share what they're talking about, there may be some conversations that need to be had, you know, just like mano a mano, kind of like, let's talk about whether you guys are willing to budge or not willing to budge. And keeping with that, another thing that has come up that I'd like to talk to you guys about, and keeping with this transparency and getting these numbers down so that we can have a path forward, is it was suggested in that meeting that both Whitman and Hanson request an audit of the school department, so that we can be sure that the numbers that we're getting and the way that the accounting has been done is appropriate, because a lot of what we're doing is based on those numbers. I know that's a lot to take in, but it was a lot to put out there. And I guess what I'm looking for now is, do you guys want to move forward with an audit? Do you want to move forward with having a conversation? Again, we're not committed to anything. I haven't committed to anything. I wouldn't do that and couldn't do that without a full board vote. Melissa, I would open this up to the board first before I would ask for, and it could be a while, but I will.
I just have a question.
Okay. I think, you know, I know just based on prior discussions, you guys are as concerned about collateral damage and making sure that we can keep this relationship together. Matt, did you want to share any of your thoughts from that meeting on Tuesday, or?
No, I think you covered it. I just had one comment about moving vote for an audit. At that meeting, we did discuss having DESI doing the audit versus hiring a private auditor. And you're looking for a motion for a private auditor.
We're looking for a private auditor, and the reason being is in the discussion with Frank and others, Frank said DESI could do it, and maybe that would be okay, but that we probably wanted a third party that was completely uninterested in this conversation, in the process, that doesn't have the history of, because Christine Lynch and DESI has been involved, and he just thought that we'd have a greater sense of confidence that would be an impartial party coming in with the audit. So yes, for private. And he spitball. We don't really know the dollar amount, so I do have to, in full interest of disclosure, tell you we don't know, and we could certainly make our motion contingent upon it not exceeding a certain dollar amount. But we were thinking it would be in the $45,000 to $50,000 range, split between the two towns. And they're planning on talking about it tonight. I confirmed with Randy today before I came here that they were going to discuss it.
How long would that take? Any idea?
It really depends on the access to the records, right? The information being forthcoming, and there's a bit of a, trying to be delicate on this. There's been some personnel changes in the district that might make it more difficult to get a hold of some of that information. But I'm not suggesting that they wouldn't be cooperative. I just think that, sometimes when you have changeover in staff, it could be a little more difficult to get. But I think best case scenario would be looking at, I think we said 4 to 5 weeks that he thought it would take. Again, I don't want to, would have to talk to, whoever the auditor was, and I think it's going to depend on what path you go down. Can you hold that thought, Mr. Hayes?
I think as far as the subcommittee, I think that's something we should do.
Okay, and do you feel comfortable with that composition, 2, 2, 1, and 1?
Yes.
Okay. All right, what do you guys think?
What do you think?
Okay. I agree with everything that's been said here at this table, but back in 2007 when that memo came out, there's no record of it coming out. It's not in any of the school board minute meetings. I'm really interested to hear, and Melissa, I know you had your hand up, but I'm really interested to hear what Mr. Hayes, the president of the school committee, has to say, because that was 15 years after the original agreement was signed in '92. DESI came out with this memo in 2007. Now, I just sat there my first year on the board and went through a whole year of Monday nights, once a month, reviewing every page of that 92 agreement that was 25 years old. And very little in that agreement was changed. Most of the stuff was like the park, schools closed, we had something closed, whatever. But it was language. So after 30 years, they're gonna play bully.
Okay, but I'm trying not to use that type of...
I'm sorry, did I say
I know,
bully?
I'm trying not to use that type of language because I can't be the person I want to be if I don't.
I will volunteer not to be on that committee when we meet.
So you're going to volunteer not to be on that committee? Okay. So just because I don't want to forget that you had a question. Go ahead, ma'am.
So just my question was, you had mentioned sort of the mythology behind the negotiation, that you need all the facts, so all the numbers and all of that. With that being said, and I agree with you, you need concrete facts in order to make an informed decision with anything like this. True, this case is true as well. So with that being said, with the makeup of the committee you're talking about, so Mr. Hayes and then 2 members of the selectmen, wouldn't it make sense to have somebody who is doing numbers, either the town accountant or somebody from finance, to also be a part of that?
I think that will come up the road, and originally, Melissa, when it was originally proposed, and I don't want to overstate Mr. Hayes, but it was a bit unwieldy. It was going to be like the town administrators, the town accountant, and I think it was an attempt to be inclusive and make sure everybody was at the table. And ultimately, we are going to, this group is merely going to be a recommending group. They're going to go to their respective committees and say, this is kind of what we came up with, or here's the questions we've got, pull them, that type of thing. So I definitely think we will need to have FinCom clearly, and the accountants and everybody else, that's crunching the numbers involved, because that's a large part of this. But I just, what we're trying to do is keep the number small enough that it's going to be agile and we can actually get something accomplished instead of getting analysis paralysis, which happens when you've got these committees of hundreds of people and nobody can agree. Mr. Hayes, you had your hand up, and then Mr. Young.
Well, in the case of trying to save the towns, both of the towns, money, okay, the school department is required by the state to hire an independent auditing firm every year. We pay between $30,000 and $35,000 for that report. They are totally independent, and it is given to the state, and it is given to the school district. In the meeting, they come to the meeting and tell us the facts of their audit. They are 100% independent. They've had to do that for many, many years. So unless the town wants to waste, and I shouldn't use that term waste, unless the town wants to spend another 50 to see the exact same numbers, because those are the numbers you're going to get handed.
Well, and I want to be clear, I'm not suggesting in any way that anything inappropriate has been done.
No, I'm just saying.
But I'm not sure that our audit would be looking at the same things you're required to look at. I think the way I would look at it is our lens will be a little bit different than you've got certain requirements you're required to be audited on. We'd be looking, I think, a little bit more broadly than that, and maybe at some additional details. So I appreciate the spirit in which you're saying that, and just to be clear, our part of it would not be 50, it would probably be 25, and I think it would probably be the best $25,000 we've ever spent, if the rest of the board decides that we should go that route. That's not just one woman's opinion. But thanks for sharing that. Mr. Young.
At that meeting, and I was there too, this was much more friendly to me than some of the members were at that past meeting, and I appreciate that. But just one observation is that, first of all, the numbers that you were looking for, which were basically, I think you wanted the numbers by school, by salary, and all the different expenses that were in each school, Indian Head, Middle, within Hanson. I think they have those numbers, because those numbers were all available, even online, in the budget package that you got. And when I was on the Board of Selectmen, and they were in extensive detail. They were totally transparent. It was the most transparent numbers I've ever seen for a school district, let alone a department. And I'm assuming Bob probably knows that they're probably still using the same program to compile the budget. So those numbers in detail are there, and I think Bob...
I'm sure they're forthcoming.
Will be forthcoming. That's one thing. And those won't be hard to get. The second thing is, as mentioned at that meeting, was the object of this the subcommittee that's being formed sounded like it was going to be strictly involved in the assessment process, and whether that could be tweaked to satisfy both towns. And I understand that. And they were looking, since DESI has already approved all the other segments and sections of the new amended school agreement that we approved in 2018 without knowing what was actually in it as far as the assessment process. And then we rescinded it a year earlier, that you should accept all those other sections and just work on the assessment process. I would disagree with that to this extent. Keep in mind that also in the new amended agreement that we just rescinded is section 9 involving withdrawal from the...
Which Whitman had objected to,
yes. And Whitman objected to it as well, but then they voted to accept it. In that section, it makes it more difficult for a town, especially under the circumstances that we're now under, that we had no idea that we would find ourselves in financially. Makes it much more difficult for an individual town to withdraw from the region. It requires a vote of the majority of the school committee. It requires an initial vote of the town that wants to withdraw, and it requires a vote of the other town to allow you to withdraw. So in addition to being, as he said, and I won't use the word, being thrust into something we had no idea that we were going to be thrust into, and put us in a very horrible financial situation, not from anything that we did, but by what another town wants to do to us. I think that has to be a subject of the negotiation as well.
Yeah, it will.
So that new amended agreement is not basically that you not accept that.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. We don't want to be hamstrung on that, and they don't either.
Yes.
So, I think both times are united. So I think where we're going to find ourselves, and Christine alluded to this at that meeting, is it's probably pretty likely that the existing agreement needs to be harmonized for changes in law and that type of thing, which the new agreement has, but then the new agreement's got that sort of language that nobody really wants.
Right.
So the ideal scenario would be probably to remove that language and the statutory language from the revised agreement, come up with a method of withdrawal, come up with the assessment, and then use all the language that's been updated.
I was just going to summarize, just to finish it. The old agreement, which we currently work under, is twofold. If you want to get out of the high school, which is 9 to 12, it obviously requires the vote of both towns because the kids all attend school. And the other one, because the way the new regional school agreement was written in 1992, where all the kids in Whitman go to Whitman schools, all the kids in Hanson go to Hanson schools, with the exception of maybe 17 kids from Hanson that attend special needs over in Whitman, and the same thing. All you need is a 2/3 vote of the member town meeting.
Which makes sense.
That's all. Which makes total sense to me, and it should basically be kept that way.
Mr.
Oh, no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Mr. Hayes, what is your recollection of why we ended up with that new language in that regional agreement, in the revised regional agreement, where it was much more onerous to withdraw?
What was the discussion?
Yeah, was that done intentionally, or was there an actual discussion, and I guess I'd ask you too, Mr. Hickey, was that done intentionally to make it more difficult? Because what Bruce has described seems perfectly common sense to me, which is that to the extent it's at the elementary school level, that pretty much if the town's decide, really where we're really attached to the hip. I know we've got administration and other costs, operational and all that stuff, OPEB and yada yada. But essentially, it would seem like that at the elementary school, if we made a decision to deregionalize, that we shouldn't get hamstrung by the other town being able to say no, because we're always going to be in a stalemate, right? Because to the extent that one town, essentially it's the same situation we've got with the regional agreement itself, which is essentially you're going to end up in a situation where it's to one town's financial advantage or disadvantage to leave or stay, and the other town's advantage or disadvantage to leave or stay, and never the twain shall meet. So I'm just wondering if that was like if there was an actual thought process and discussion about that.
The people we had from MASC had discussed all of that. I think you were there, Jim.
Yep.
And part of the problem with it, when you're married in a high school and you're not married in your elementary schools, Hanson, for instance, owned McQuon, Hanson Middle, and Indian Head.
Right.
Whitman owned Whitman Middle, Conley, and Duval. That was where your difference is. When you share costs in a building such as that new regional high school, and you share a mortgage amount for use of a lesser term, there is a mortgage on that building. It becomes more difficult, and part of it is your OPEB agreement, which has never come up on cherry sheets until the last year, whether it be a town or a school district. When you have an OPEB agreement that's been set and you have somewhere around a $55 million debt, if you split it 60-40, if I do the math quickly in my head, that's $33 million to Whitman, $22 million to Hanson to cut the road. That means you'd have to come up with $22 million.
Or bond it out, I mean.
Bond it. Well, either way. You know, nobody's going to write a check for 22. You're going to have to bond it. And you're going to have to bond it on the other side. And then there's going to be ramifications of who buys who out of the school. That's part of all of the agreements.
I think that this is accurate. Somebody told me that you can go to DESE and ask them to run rough numbers on how much it would cost to deregionalize. And that they would actually just go through that. Like I don't know that it would be to the paperclip, but it would be you get a sense of whether this would be financially advantageous or not. And I think we've talked about this. Look, you're going to be looking at splitting up administrative costs, OPEB. There's all kinds of unintended consequences. I think, and my initial gut, most people's is it's probably not the move. We're so attached to the hip right now, but I think it's the questions being asked. People are asking it, and so I feel like it's something we need to just have some numbers around. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it because really right now in the immediate in the present, what we've got is an agreement that we need to figure out how we're going to get assessed, and we need to get through this. But I do want to, parallel to having that conversation, talk about, well, okay, what if we did decide to deregionalize K through 8 or all together, which I don't think it would even be viable, but what are those costs? Just so people can be armed with the same information that I've got, and for a gut feeling and just from taking a look at, because I want everybody to feel like, they've looked at all of the options that are available to us and they're making the best decision. We really can't afford to deregionalize. And I'm saying that as a foregone conclusion, but I don't know that it really is. But just look at that. So I hope that makes sense. Mr. Young?
Only that the OPEB numbers are part of long-term debt, do not do right away. Even if you were to withdraw, you're going to own those people at the high school, and you're going to continue with the high school, but you're not going to pay them off right away.
Yeah.
You continue with regionalization, just like you're going to own all the individuals that are still working in those buildings that you own, and those are going to go on.
It's true. It may not be. It definitely is going to be liabilities, but it may not be that full.
That's correct.
Realized number yet. But yeah, I see what you're saying. Yes, Mr. Mitchell. And then you, ma'am. Okay.
I think that you know, obviously we can't afford to be assessed for $1 million. Mr. Hickey's right, everyone here is right, everything you're saying is right, but we have to try to work towards a solution. So I think forming this subcommittee and trying to figure out a way, rather than Hanson be assessed $1 million out, maybe we spread that out over 4 or 5 years and work something out.
That's one of the things
Because
that,
we don't want to go to the super town
Yeah.
meeting.
No, we
Like I
don't.
said, Jim, what Jim's saying is right, but that's not going to get us anywhere right now.
look,
you know?
you're right.
He's right.
You're right.
What
But
he said.
But it does, but it's sort of like, this is my new mantra, do you want to be right or get what you want? Okay? Like, we can be right, but it's not going to get us what we want, which is not having to pay the 1.5 million or whatever the heck it is, right? So, so I think, you know, I hear what you're saying, and I think we've all gone through the, you know, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross death and dying 5 stages of denial and all that other stuff on this, but we're past that. So
So I think the first thing we need to do is form, you know, this committee and at least try to start and go and talk to them. We have to. We have
well,
to do
good for
something.
you bringing us back to the subject at hand.
We can kick the horse all we want, but you know, I think going at the table with them and trying to work out, like I said, if it's $1 million, all right, let's see if we can spread it out maybe over
And the thing is,
3, 4 years and a couple $100,000 a year. And you give a little, we give a little, and everybody's happy. You know, I know it sounds a little easier said than done, but
I said this last week though, Kenny, the thing is, nobody's going to be happy with us, okay?
Right.
And nobody's going to be happy with the guys from Whitman. Because it's sort of like nobody's really winning. Everybody's losing a little
right, but
and
we
maybe
each,
winning.
both towns have to give a little to get to the solution.
So, okay. Yes, ma'am. And then Bruce, go ahead.
Jane Parenti.
Sorry.
Just for a point of clarification, I worked for the district for 31 years. I did work in that business office, a central office. I would highly encourage you to check, because what you said about the audit every year, I believe that audit is geared to mandates by the state.
Yes, that's why I said I think it would be.
audit per se what you're looking for.
Yes.
So I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, no, thank you, ma'am. And that's what I meant when I said our lens is going to be a little bit different. Those are required, and they're required because the state's giving the money, so they want to make sure it's being used and allocated the way that it should, like standard audit 101. And that's great, and it's all fantastic, but it's going to be a little bit different than maybe what Whitman and Hanson's looking for. Again, with thought towards that full transparency on how money is being spent and which town it's allocable to. So, yes, ma'am. And then Mr. Young.
And just as a concerned citizen, why do we have to give a little when we have had an agreement in for so many years and it's worked? Because of situations, circumstances within the other town of our region, we can't help that. And before we were regionalized from K or pre-K through 12, I worked for the high school, and so I always worked for the region because that's where I worked. And then they decided to regionalize middle and elementary.
Well, to take you back to your question, which why give anything?
Yeah, really, surely.
And you know, honestly, I've grappled with this. I've had my little conversations while I'm rocking out in the cranberry bog, thinking to myself, why are we, and I think these guys have too, but I think I started off by saying, if we don't sit down and negotiate, it's going to end up at a super town meeting. And that means we lose anyway. So we've got
by sheer numbers.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So we're in a black hole here.
Well, yes.
I'm optimistic. I try to have hope and remain optimistic.
We appreciate that.
But we did not look for this.
No.
That would be the understatement of the day, ma'am. Yes. Mr. Young.
What makes the whole thing even crazier, because I've researched the law and researched all of this, all the rules and regs of DESI, which has rules and regs that should be emphasizing education, not meddling into the financial affairs and the internal financial affairs and agreements between the two towns. And therein lies the problem.
Yeah.
Because one of the regs in DESI says And to compare with Chapter 71, which says the school committee will use the agreement method when they basically formulate how the methodology is in assessing the two towns, and that goes all the way up till you get to the super town meeting.
Yes.
And if you read Chapter 71 dealing with the super town meeting, it even says the budget shall be allocated using the method that's in the regional school agreement.
Actually, here's what it says, because I did look into this.
Okay, as far as Chapter 71 is concerned?
Yep, so should the school committee, I had Jay talk to Christine Lynch about this, and this was weeks ago before before Christine even came to the school committee meeting. Should the school committee either opt at the outset to utilize the statute method for their assessment or use the statutory method after the alternative assessment fails, the use of that method would only apply to the required minimum as set by the state. All amounts in excess of the required minimum would revert back to the existing regional agreement.
That's the statutory method you're reading, okay? Not what I'm trying to say, Chapter 71 basically says that when you get to the district-wide town meeting,
right,
it says that you use the agreement method. But the regulation from DESI says that if you get to the district-wide town meeting, the school committee is forced to use the statutory.
That's true.
So you have a complete conflict between Chapter 71, which is the general laws governing the way that a regional school district is supposed to operate, and the regulations of DESI.
Well, not only that, but if we go to the 112th, it's based on statutory too.
Based on the previous.
If you go to Chapter 71, it says nothing about the commissioner being forced to use it, but if you go back to the regs, it says, the commissioner will use it.
So to answer your question, ma'am,
that's a conflict.
Yes, we've got the regional agreement, but all roads lead to statutory once we go down this discussion of statutory or per pupil. Yes, ma'am.
Hi.
Could you state your name and address? I'm sorry, I've been slacking on that.
Catherine Coakley.
Okay.
I was also at the school committee meeting last week, and what I felt I heard, and maybe I'm wrong, so you can correct me, so I'd like to know where your optimism is coming from, is that there are 6 members from Whitman, 4 members from Hanson, and it was very clear the Whitman members, absolutely, there is no budging room. They are going to vote one way.
I did not get that read at all. In fact, I will say some Whitman, I don't want to out people, and they didn't take a vote, so it's all based on just supposition.
I also heard from some of the townspeople on the school committee members, and I don't know exactly who they were, but the ones that spoke, again, were determined that they have lost out and they want to take advantage of this opportunity. And for just what you just said, if it's voted down at the town, we can't come to agreement, the state comes in, 112, we're going to go back to this statutory, whatever you call it. How can you be so optimistic that you think anyone's going to work with you? They have nothing to lose but to push for this.
What have we got to lose? If we don't go to the bargaining table, it's going to happen.
That's right.
At least if we sit down at the bargaining table, we may effectuate some change. We might not. All we've lost is a little bit of time and some discussion. If we don't do anything, it's clear what's going to happen.
And so, if that goes that way, my next question is, can there be a change of the number of people on the committee to equalize it between both towns? Because otherwise, we are at the mercy of the town. Yeah, we are at the mercy of that town for whatever they want to.
Well, I assure you that to the extent that the 60-40 split isn't going to apply for the assessment, it certainly isn't going to apply for the composition of the school committee.
We'll have a Boston Tea Party.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Hayes.
Or answer through you to this former school employee. Over time, the laws changed. We didn't change the law, the school committee didn't change the law, the legislature through DESI changed the law. They contribute, the state contributes a ton of money to school districts. And how they did it, to just answer your question, is they determined by the Department of Revenue's reporting on everybody's tax returns as it was stated by a certain gentleman, the wealth method, which doesn't exist. It's called the statutory method, but you could call it that. And they are stating that Hanson has more ability to pay before you get to the 60-40 split. That's what they're saying. That's what the law reads. That's why it goes back to statutory. And to answer the question, you will still be on a 60-40 split. So to change the amount of school committee members might be difficult too, if that sinks in at all. It's hard because they use so many different things to come up with their formula. But state aid, Whitman gets more state aid, just to throw it out there in nice, easy terms. Whitman gets more state aid from the state than Hanson.
Bob, did you need to trigger us on the state aid situation?
Don't go into the state aid.
Please.
That doesn't even happen.
Yeah, I've lost complete and out of control. But I did see Melissa, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I was just gonna sort of ask the question. So my understanding was, in terms of the question that was asked about the 6 committee members versus the 4 from Hanson, I believe that's based on, it's the only thing that's based on population in terms of representation. So I think that's what Mr. Hayes was sort of pointing at, is that DESI does set that, but then they also set up the...
But if we're opening up a new regional agreement, and if that's something that we can change, then I say everything's fair.
I guess that is fair game. Is that something through you to Mr. Hayes? Is that something that we can change? Or
you could. I'm just saying how it was set up, Melissa, just to give some history to it. It's kind of like cars used to have carburetors 25 years ago. Now they're fuel injected electronically with a computer. Times have changed, and we didn't start the change or stop the change.
And I don't think that makes sort of the method it looks like we're working towards any easier to swallow necessarily, but I do think it makes it more equitable in terms of how we move forward as a district.
So what are you saying? You're the 1%?
I'm sorry. Can I just bring us back on track?
Sure.
I do want to try to move towards the, but I want to make sure we're being responsive. Do you guys feel like your questions have been answered and you've been heard? Mr. Young.
I just have one more question. And this is one, because I'm a detailed guy, I'm a figures guy. That was my profession. I would like very much to know, and I haven't heard anybody at the school committee or DESI or anybody. The lady from DESI alluded to it, but she couldn't do it because she wasn't the figures person. I really want to know what makes Hanson a wealthier community than Whitman, and what's actually in those figures. Is it the household income? Is it the family income? Is it the per capita income? What incomes are there? And what are the assessments? Because Whitman has...
I think there was something in writing about that, Bob. Wasn't there from DESI?
I want to see how those figures are put together for Whitman and Hanson.
Yeah.
I will not be satisfied about this whole thing unless I can see that.
Mr. Hayes, didn't we get something from DESI that specified why Hanson was being looked at?
That Mars report does not tell you that. I went through that.
Mr. Hayes.
It doesn't really tell you.
He's ready.
Does not go into detail.
I was just,
I think that's a fair question. Laura, it might have been my notes that I showed you.
I don't think you agree.
No, I definitely saw some type of a chart. I mean, I've been deluded with all types of charts.
I think that's a fair question when he's asking. We should send an email and find that out.
I think it was
How do they get that number?
That they go by household income as
Yes,
part of
I know
the
that's
formula.
one of it.
And Whitman's household income, I believe it was stated was $75,000 on average, and Hanson was 100.
And then assessed
Hanson was
value
106, Whitman was
But here was an-
81,000.
Okay, so we're 25
But
grand
here was
above.
another interesting point, and I really don't want to trigger people on this, but assessed value of house value, okay? Which then got me into thinking, but what if you have a difference in the way that the towns apply the assessment methodology to the houses? And I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, realizing that I just sort of did dip my foot in it. But that kind of, I thought, well, what if we assess the same house in Hanson as a higher value than they do in Whitman. And I'm not saying that's the case, but I'm just saying, what if we did? Then that would actually be to our detriment in this particular case.
If we're more up to date than
Yes.
Whitman is in
Yes.
the assessed valuations,
Yes.
then that puts us behind the 8 ball almost every year.
Right.
And we're very thorough.
Yes.
Those ladies in the Board of Assessors do a fantastic job of keeping Hanson up to date.
Yep, they do.
And whether that's done in Whitman or not, it pays almost to drag your feet because, you know.
I'm not suggesting anybody's dragging their feet, because I am extending all branches, which seem to be getting chopped off by the moment.
Oh, boy.
But, okay, so, all right, everybody, okay, so what we've got is two things, an audit and having people be part of the agreement.
So moved.
Do we agree we want to be part of this conversation?
We don't have a choice.
Okay, thank you, that's how I feel. And if so, should we take a vote on that? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
No, we doing both of those things, the audit and
No,
the
which
committee?
separately. I'm going to talk about the agreement, and then we're going to talk about who wants to be on it, then we'll take a vote on the audit. So, I will entertain a motion on participating in, I don't know what the name of the committee is going to be, because it hasn't really been named, but we'll call it the assessment committee.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, great. And now, let's have a conversation about who would like to draw the short straw and be part of that conversation. Jim, did I see you blink?
Are you the first? I know you want to be a member of that committee.
I mean, I will prefer if there are other people that would like to be part of the committee.
I would also be like, I'll be part of that committee if no one else. I mean, I know you guys all have other committees and your reports and everything. I'd like to do this.
Okay. Anybody else want to be part of that?
I thought you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think you're leading the charge on this one.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So, hold on.
We have Laura and Jim, right?
Yep.
But that's if you have time. We know you're Wonder Woman and you're doing everything.
Okay.
So I want to make sure
Thank you for the costume suggestion for the cold. There is nothing more important than this issue. Town administrator was number one. This was number two. So we've already
Where are the tiles in the entranceway come in?
Well, that was like number 50, but since we were talking about it, okay, that's fine.
All right, I move to appoint Laura and Jim to the committee.
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Okay. All right, great. Now, moving on to the audit. Again, split it between Whitman and Hanson, roughly estimated to be roughly $25,000 each.
We're looking at a specific direction for this audit though, right?
Yes.
I mean, we need to give the auditors, what are we looking at? What it costs to educate a Hanson student versus what it costs to educate a Whitman student.
And there may be other things that come out of this assessment committee.
That's what I think we need
that as we look at that assessment committee starts looking at things, we say, you know, we have no insight into this thing. We need to ask the auditors to look at that. So I see it as like working hand in hand. Mr. Hayes.
I have a suggestion. Being frugal, I'd rather let you take a look at the audit that's this big, this committee, because with all due respect, they talk about how much is spent on school lunches, to the penny, what revolving accounts. So I beg to differ with whoever said the fact that they worked in that office and it just goes to what the state wants. It is
But
this
school lunches
thick.
is one of the things the state would need to
Right,
know about.
but when I tell you it is this thick, and I've sat with the auditors because I have to sign off it for 6 hours and gone over it, and it talks about every single possible thing. So you may want to look at it as lay people and just go, what are we looking for? And you may see the figure right there, and you may say the town's of Whitman and Hanson, 25 grand a piece.
I have a copy of it, I can send it to you.
I'm sure that well, okay, first of all, we are under a time constraint. So the thought of 5 lay people or 6 lay people looking at a dense audit and trying to extrapolate what we need in the time frame that we're given seems like a Hail Mary to me.
That seems to me it would be the first step of the independent audit, to look at the existing audit.
To have our auditor look at.
But that's the first step. But what we're looking for is, where exactly is all this money being spent? And my other question, which came up when we met last week, is Jeff had mentioned, well, I can't even do the budget until we get the numbers for the state. Why can't he put a budget together, not by determining how much money we're going to get the state and how much money you're going to get from the town, and then we'll spend it? Why can't he start from scratch and determine it's going to cost us this much for the school staff? This is what the contracts are. This is the maintenance staff. This is what it costs for the facilities management. We know what the costs are. We have a general idea of what the health is. And why can't he start the budget now and give us an idea, so when we know what the money is that's coming from the state, we already know that the school budget is going to cost us $55 million, and now this is the state share and this is our share. But it seems to me we ought to be getting get the numbers now, so we can at least know, Hanson and Whitman, know what it's going to cost to run the school, and then we'll figure out how we're going to divvy it up. But just thinking that we're having to wait until the state's going to tell us they're going to give us this pot of money, we'd rather see you build it from bottom up, just like all our other departments do. This is what I'm going to need based on our contracts and our expenses, and go from there.
He can give you that number.
Okay.
So
we have contracts. We know exactly what they're going to be.
Yeah.
The difference between the school budget and your town budget is exactly what you said. He's talking about the future budget. We can give you copies of this year, last year, the year before, the year before, the year before, and you can see the trend of exactly how much it goes up.
But she's saying,
what I'm saying, to build next year's budget, just like our departments build next year's budget, this is what we're anticipating we're going to need. Why can't we do that in advance of seeing what the state is going to be giving you?
Oh, he definitely can.
Okay.
The part of it that they're talking about is, we wanted to add this program, they wanted to do this, they wanted to do that, and that's where some of the advanced part of the budget comes from, Mary. Like we talked about, this math program, they're no longer using it, it's $250,000, so you're adding it into the budget. All-day kindergarten has been discussed for 10 years that I know about it. It gets brought up, and then it comes to the towns for an assessment, and then the towns come back and say, this is what you're going to get. This is what the state's going to give you, and then we have to cut it at that final day on the road. But as far as building the base, that can be done.
All right, so to bring it back around to what we were discussing, which is the audit, I agree, Mary. I think that we would certainly avail ourselves of the audit that they had done and have our auditor look at it, but I don't think it's a substitute for our own independent audit. Yes, Mr. Dyer.
One thing I would like to add to the motion for an audit would be that the auditors report both to Whitman and Hanson, not just one town administrator.
Well, we're hiring it together, so.
Right,
but yeah.
I just want to make sure that was spelled out in the motion, just so it wasn't, oh, I'll just,
And I'd actually take it a step further and say that our vote should be contingent upon Whitman passing it as well. Because I don't know I'm hoping that they see the light and do that too.
That's why I was going to say I would rather table a vote on an audit until the committee actually is made up and met, and then come back to each selectman's.
I don't
know. This was separate than the committee, right?
It's separate, but it is going to inform that committee, and I don't know if we can wait, because you've got a hiring process to get the auditor and to get them in and get them acclimated, and we are under the gun. We are really under the gun.
And what if Whitman decides they don't want
Then we do a contingent vote, saying we're only going to say yes if they say yes too.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they're doing the same.
They're doing a vote tonight, that's what Randy told me, so, I mean, I don't have any insight into it
Okay.
other than that, so.
Let's do it.
Yeah, okay, so I will entertain that motion, try to make that one, Mr. Dyer, I can't wait.
All right, I move to contingently appropriate $25,000 for an audit for the school department based on whether or not Whitman Board of Selectmen also approves theirs.
Fabulous.
With that being said, the auditors shall report to both town administrators at the same, you know what I mean?
And the same manner at the same time, and,
Correct.
yeah, okay.
Good idea.
I think that's perfect, but I don't know, do you want to put a cap of the 25? What if it comes it's 27 and then we're in trouble?
What, do you want to say an amount not to exceed 30,000?
I'll amend the motion to that.
Okay, all right.
That's all.
All in favor? Wait a minute, did I get a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, great. Okay, well, that is fabulous. Now we are moving on. Any other questions, comments? Okay, sorry that it took so long, but it was important, and I wanted to just make sure everybody was all up to speed on everything. Thank you for everybody's input and feedback. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to lighter fare, declaring recreation cots and kayaks as surplus. I think you
The
guys...
pictures are on your iPads, we didn't print out the pictures.
So,
Second.
okay, all in favor? Okay, great. Set minimum bid for 0 Liberty Street. Can you remind us, Mary, was this the one where people lowballed and?
Yes, this is the one on Liberty Street diagonally across from the entrance of the middle school. Mike had put an RFP out on it. We got a $10,000 bid and a $15,000 bid. Then we were going to put it as part of an auction, and tax title attorney was uncomfortable doing it through the auction process. So I'd really like to get this off the plate before I leave.
What does Lee think we should have?
So Lee gave us the assessment, which is $135,500, I think is the assessed value. So
135.2.
135.2. Okay. So
The
that's-
previous was 132.6.
Okay. So if we could just, I think, I'd like to put it out and say a minimum bid of whatever you guys pick, but I'd like to get it out there and see if we can get that.
All uplands, all buildable, no wetlands, no setback issues?
That I honestly, I don't know.
All right, so it's hard to, okay.
But I mean, if Lee has it set at that, I don't think there's wetland issue, so.
I don't think there are either because it's up front, but it doesn't. What are you saying?
Well, so I'm going to preface this first by saying, first, I'm going to abstain from this.
Because your dad owns property
My
next
dad owns next to it, he might have an interest into it, so I'm not going to vote on that. But what I can say, if it's okay, you can say, Matt,
If you know,
stop it.
if you know something about this,
You're not
please
deliberating.
enlighten us.
Is there is, on my dad's property, which is right next door, there is wetlands in back.
Yes.
So that's what I'm going to just say is,
But on this property in question, I think it's more in the front, it's...
To the street.
Yeah, it's more to the street. I know what you're talking about, because I think Ed Sheehan ran into the same situation with his property where the back was all wet, because basically it's all wetlands back.
correct, and then you also have
Yeah.
that setback
Yes.
of 100 feet from the wetlands, so
Yeah.
that may bump into that.
Yeah.
68,200.
Really, you just came up with that number out of the clear blue? I was going to say 60,000. Did you say that, and that's why it stuck in my head?
I said it under my breath earlier.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I'm a little bit more,
Yeah.
but
How much was...
What do you got? What do you have for?
I was going to do 70% of the assessed value.
Remember, it's a minimum bid.
Right.
Right.
I mean, do we want to just own that piece of property? If we make it too unwieldy, is it
I just want to say that I have a couple of people who have been interested and have kept calling me and asking me when I'm going to do something with it. And I probably, when people ask, I said, when I get somebody in to help me and I have time
Have
to...
you said how much you're willing to pay? And I did.
I did my best. But, so I know we're going to have active...
60%.
What do you think?
60% is 80,000.
I would like to...
But we can't go, if nobody bids on it, then we lower it and put it back out there.
I
You
love
don't-
how
you don't have
this is
to
such
give
a
it away.
highly scientific process that we've got of coming up with a minimum bid. Did Lee recommend a minimum bid?
I said, we could ask for a minimum bid of 100,000. She said that would be good. I mean, it's, getting a lot in Hanson is not cheap.
Okay.
So
Yes, Melissa.
Just to put it out there, and I know it's privately owned, but the JJ's property is listed for 160, and I feel like the property that you guys are talking about is not on a dangerous corner. It's a much bigger lot. It's
Valid
flatter.
points. Very good
So
point.
just.
We don't know if it's bigger though. We don't know how big JJ's is.
I don't know. I'm
This is just under an acre. I don't know how big JJ's is. Hazy might know.
Can't be that big.
It's under an acre. One of the differences though, JJ's had a septic system. Has this land ever been perked? Also,
I don't think.
Well, it must have probably,
Todd
because
will know this.
we purchased it to put the school septic system on.
Was that perked, those what I'm saying?
That was before my time, I don't know.
And I
But it
think
just
one of
seems
the
to me you might have
reasons-
wanted to.
Back in those days when HMS was going across the street, we
Yeah.
talked about it. There's an easement for Brockton water that goes, I think it might go under the back part of your dad's property, Dr. Smith's property,
Yeah.
which was Dr. Smith.
Now
I
it's
don't even know who owns it anymore.
Hanson VCA bought it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it comes, because I know when Paul Diaz was talking about marking his property, God rest his soul, we talked about buying that at one point in Brockton, I think it's Brockton Water, or maybe it was
Brockton Abbey.
Brockton Avenue.
Yeah, Brockton Abington.
Yeah.
There's a pipe that goes under it, and they said, you can buy it, but you can't pave Diaz's lot, because we may have to dig it up, and if we dig it up, we're not repaving it. And that's going back 20 years.
Yeah.
Whether they still use it, that pipe was there, I'm pretty sure though. Your dad would know. Yeah. He would know.
Okay.
I think 80,000 is a number. 80,000 is 60% of the assessed value. And I think we should take a minimum bill
All
of
right, thank you.
no
I guess
less than 80,000.
Worst case
That's just
scenario,
my
if we
opinion.
put an 80 as a minimum.
It doesn't sell, we put it back
then
up
we'll look at
there.
it again.
Right.
All right, are you guys okay with that?
I'm good.
All right, so I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? And one recusing.
And that's it. Matt's recusing.
Yep. Okay, fabulous. Moving right along. Town administrators report.
I'll read fast.
Thank you, Matt.
3 pages, sorry. I've been busy. Okay, personnel matters. Health agent. Received 2 applications after putting it back out there once again. I made a recommendation to the Board of Health to hire a Hanover resident who was a licensed civil engineer and soil evaluator, Title V inspector, and a construction supervisor. However, the Board of Health voted to go with the local experience and service and appointed Gil Amato, who was a former member of the Board of Health and the Water Commissioners. During the last year and a half, Gil has actually been doing a lot of work for the Board of Health. So he started his duties on Tuesday, November 2nd. Conservation Administrative Assistant, Lon Woodward, moved from Recreation to Conservation. She started her duties on November 12th. She and Frank Skellinger are pulling the office together. Lon has already attended a Conservation Administrative Assistance program.
Wow.
Which just popped up, and she did that today. So she's on her way to understanding the workings of the office. Recreation Commission Administrative Assistant, we do not have any in-house candidates, so I posted the position publicly. They were due last Friday, the 15th. We received 12 applications. I'm looking at those along with Billy and Diane. We'll review them, narrow them down, bring some people in for interviews. So I hope to have that done in the next couple of weeks. Planning Administrative Assistant, there are again no in-house candidates, both because they were part-time positions and nobody's going to be making any adjustments. So those applications are due on Friday. We only got 1 application, so I'm going to go over that with the town planner. She's already looked at it and is happy with what we have. The 2021 budget and capital improvement message was sent out. I sent out a reminder today. They were all due on Friday, the 22nd. Meetings, McQuan reuse, we had a discussion with Keller Williams, with various stakeholders, not so much the committee members, but we had someone from assessing, finance, town council. Laura participated, the town planner was there, and Jim Armstrong, who's actually on the committee, participated. They have actually submitted a request for information for our review so they can send it out. There are a couple of, we've had comments from both the town planner and town council about some of the information they have in there. Did you have a chance to look at it? I had some issues with a couple of
I think
things.
Kevin Sullivan also had comment. Yeah.
So we actually have a meeting scheduled for tomorrow at 3:30, a conference call for the people who can't make it. Kurt already mentioned that he took the trees down from the library. The food pantry, they had met with me in late September or October. So I took a tour of the building with Brian. I have not been there since I was like 15 years old and doing 4-H stuff, so it was enlightening. But they want to split the utilities, because what they do is they pay the bill and they bill us, or send us a bill and we pay half. So I met with Bob Curran to ask him to go up and see what it would cost to actually split either the gas or the electric and see what we can do. So I'm working on that. They were also concerned about the parking lot, that it's dark, it's divoted. Kurt, once again, went up and got a price to at least make it safe. It's not going to be a brand new parking lot, but he may be able to just get 2 inches of material on there to at least make it level. And we may be able to get that done if the weather doesn't get too bad. So if not, we'll have to do it in the spring, but I am on that. Wes and I attended the Veterans Day breakfast at the Senior Center. Mary and Tim did a great job. Tim did an excellent presentation. It was very moving. I highly recommend. I've been to these before, but I highly recommend if you can go next year. It was very nice, and the veterans really seemed to appreciate it. It was very moving. He had a table set aside and explained all the components that were on the table for the was it the missing veteran. It was very nice. I met on the 4th of November, I met with the Recreation Commission. We did discuss roles, budget process, hiring, and setting schedules for the coming year. The cell tower hearing was held on the 12th, and it's been continued to January 7th because they made the move. They had some other questions. Virginia seems to think that may be the final vote, final meeting. We'll maybe able to actually get that up maybe before I leave.
And the school committee approved it at their last meeting.
Did they? Okay,
Yeah.
I had not heard that yet.
Yep.
So that's good. Again, just remind you, they moved the tower south of the existing position, and apparently the abutters were there as well, and they were comfortable with it. The abutters actually walked the lot and seemed happy with that, so hopefully we can get that wrapped up. Mike Mahoney from Regional Dispatch from The Rock has set up, I got an email from him, he set up a meeting, starting a regular schedule of meetings. The first one will be on December 11th, and that's with all the stakeholders. The first meeting is going to be mostly with fire personnel, and then they'll fold in the police, so that's moving. The Cranberry Building, I already mentioned. If I didn't mention it, maybe I did.
You did.
I'm going with it, did I? Okay.
Yeah.
You did.
Deb has also set up a meeting with the group, the initial group for the Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Task Force, and that will be next Tuesday at 1 o'clock, and she has a whole agenda of what we need to talk about. So that will include the fire department, police department, water, highway, conservation, board of health, the COA, and building. I will be attending as well. The miscellaneous stuff, the planner posted a Main Street revitalization survey. It's on the homepage of the website. It's 10 questions. It will take you 5 minutes at the most to do. The deadline for that is the 15th. Within the first day, she said she had probably a dozen people had responded to it.
Can you ask her if she could send something to the Express with the link to that?
Oh, okay.
I just think it would, because not everybody, might be aware or whatever.
Right. Okay.
But whatever she could do to kind of get that info out there.
And what's the link again, Mary?
It is.
It's a Hanson?
It's right on the Hanson webpage.
Yeah.
So it's right on the homepage.
Okay.
Unless it moved off, I'll try to pull it back up to the first thing under news and announcements. But it's SurveyMonkey she used, so it's very easy to do. In light of the recent weather, I've removed the field closure notice on the website, so I'm sure the mosquitoes aren't a problem anymore. I've already mentioned the generator, we're working on that. Again, highway, they did the patch in the driveway where the electricity was sent through. And I got this notice from Comcast. I thought it was a scam, so I actually checked with our representative, but it's called Internet Essentials from Comcast, which provides high-speed internet service for $9.95 $125 per month plus tax, with the option of a purchase of a desktop or a laptop computer for $149.99, and access to free digital literacy training for qualified residents if they have at least one child who is eligible for a national school lunch program, or if they receive assistance through housing assistance, Medicaid, SNAP, or SSI. And for more information, residents can call 855-846-8376 or visit internetessentials.com. So I'll put that up on the website, but it just looked too good to be actually true, but it was. So, okay, was that fast enough? What was that? I'm sure I've done other things and I've just missed it from the list.
Yes, Mr.
Just the 1458 project?
14, we're still working on that.
Okay.
That hasn't gone out to bid yet. We've had a lot of conversation back and forth with town council and environmental partners. They've incorporated the contract that town council had written way back in probably January or February. So I think that's going to be hitting pretty soon, but I will follow up on that.
Excellent. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Laura. So Mary, with Zero Liberty Street, now that we have a price on it, that can be part of the auction?
No, it's not going to be part of the
So it's
auction.
gonna
This
be
is different than the auction. What I will do is put an RFP out, as was done before. I have to put it on the central register, and that has to be up for 30 days before we get bids in. So I will work on that this week and hopefully get it up for next Tuesday, and I'll get that out.
Okay, so then with the other tax title properties we have, there was no date set?
No, not yet. And I got to sit down with Lee and Jean and see if we can't get some things together and put another list out. But that will require more steps. It'll go to the board. The board picks what additional properties we have, which aren't that many, and get those out and maybe get a packet out to all the departments. They'll have 45 days to respond to see if they want it, and then we can do another auction. And we're in pretty good shape.
You want to sell everything?
I want it to be zero.
Real estate is...
When it's zero, Mary can leave.
Oh, speaking of leaving.
What?
See, Jim, why'd you have to bring it up?
She said it with the cell tower. She was going to report.
What?
That we met this weekend and
I know, we didn't even talk about it. It's like I thought for sure we'd talk about it. I am very pleased that the board has selected John Stanbrook from Middleborough and the assistant town manager from Mansfield. For anyone who hasn't watched or has seen it on TV or in the paper, that I spoke to him today and he's looking forward to coming on. He's doing the background, MRI's doing the background check, he's answering all the questions, and he is going to stop by next week. He's off on vacation next week, stop by and meet everybody, but we have to set up negotiations for his contract. And I've already sent him the current contract from Mike. He just sounds great. He's very enthusiastic about coming on board. So I look forward to seeing him. He doesn't have a lot of lead time that he needs to give the town, so we may have him in here before the Christmas holiday. I did offer to hang in and help with the transition. Again, I have vacation time, so what I would do is maybe work 2 days a week, do some vacation time, and just get my retirement out sometime in January or February. So I said to him, I don't want to be hanging around and be one of those people that, how can I miss you if you won't go away? But I want to be able to spend some time with Greer, which I have not been able to do, and go over a lot of the stuff in the office. So,
well, it was a fantastic process, and I enjoyed going through it with all of you guys, and I think we really made a good choice. So let's hope he passes the background test.
Yes, and I sent an email to MRI and thanked them for their help, and they, both Bob and Buzz, sent back glowing response that the board and the town was great to work with. It was a really good process, and everybody was responsive, and they really appreciated everybody's input, and thinks we're going to be in really good shape with John.
It was a good process, and they did a fantastic job, and you ladies did too, making us look good. Okay, moving on to minutes. I will entertain a motion to approve October 22nd and November 5th.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, one-day liquor licenses. We've got, well, just one actually. Gail Fusco, December 7th. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Okay, all in favor? Could somebody second?
Yes.
I thought you did, Matt, but I wasn't entirely sure. Committee reports, I'll have more to report to you the next meeting, but we are excited. We've set the date, February 22nd, for the kickoff gala at Lakeside Villa, and it will be a roaring 20s theme, so get your little flapper outfits out and your gangster outfits out, and get ready to enjoy a good time. We're going to have, it's going to be a great time. Marcus, Lynn, and I are working on details, but I think it'll be quite fun. And Matt, final Plymouth County Hospital Reuse Committee.
We'll be meeting tomorrow.
Fabulous. Applying school reuse, I'll take a pass since Mary just updated. We're meeting tomorrow, and hopefully there'll be more to report. And Mr.
Highway, we're trying to meet on Monday. I'm just waiting for one more follow-up call.
And are you including Kurt in it?
Yes,
I know
Kurt,
Rob
the last
Kurt
time we met, Kurt was on vacation, but yes.
Yeah.
And he told me, Kenny, whenever the meetings are, whatever, and I can go. So, yeah, Kurt's been fun.
Pinch me,
Yeah.
he's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, great. With that, I will entertain a motion to enter executive session to conduct a strategy with sessions in preparation for negotiations for collective bargaining sessions with the Hanson Police Relief Association. Further, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, highway director, and town administrator, if the chair has declared that it would be detrimental to conduct an open session. To conduct contract negotiations with non-union personnel, if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the public body and the chair so declares, to wit, highway director and town administrator. And that'll be a roll call.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Okay.
Aye.
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 Okay. We are in executive session.